Welcome back. If you can tell from the title of the video, doing some more Battle Bingo today. And honestly, I'm not quite sure how January is going to be like in general. I can talk more about that when I actually get into it though. Somehow we cleared Alakazam, so let's dive right into Sableye. Right. That's the name of this. Well, let's get it done and over with. Essentially, I'm kind of just in a boat where I need to record more Pokemon XG if I want to finish editing enough videos for the month of January. But I'm kinda haven't found a good moment to actually feel up to recording. Haven't even streamed in a couple weeks. What move do I have again? Wow. I'm glad I decided to still do live commentary. Initially I was just gonna do these next two boards completely post, no first attempt live commentary. But I'm glad I'm doing it live, if only to go, oh my god, that is stupid. So if you can't Toxic Stall it, then you lose. Unless we get Pokemon that actually have actual attacks. There may be some regrets. But I definitely feel there's going to be no qualms with doing anything after the first attempt in post. Let's just dive into it. First attempt is gonna just be getting a lay on the board. I just realized there's an ability in the modern gens that flat out makes you immune to poison. So one of the Pokemon on this board probably have that. Well, I guess since we have all day waiting for the poison to stall out. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Wait, how do you even learn that move? You have no teeth. You're a giant sumo wrestler who never even opens their mouth. Come on, toxic damage. You really can start stacking up anytime now. I really don't want to catch this Harima that just knows Ice Fang. Yeah, I pretty much already accepted defeat. I'm just using this time to get a feel of what's on the board. What would be in this corner? Let's see what you got. Fantastic! And it's its only move, so how am I supposed to win this one? It doesn't do any good to catch it because it's just... If you use Destiny Bond and you get knocked out, sure you knock out the opponent, but you both get knocked out. The more I think about it, this Toxic Stalling stat might actually be the only way to actually defeat this Dusclops. So I guess it's good to find this out now? See you all in 20 million years when the Toxic runs out. Or catches up. Or we could just run out of Destiny Bond. I guess that works too. we'll never know if it would still be able to take me out even if it fed into its own poison. Well, people who actually kept up with Pokemon probably would know, but that's just besides the point. And on the post. Alright, being upfront, this was definitely the longer of the two battle bingos I recorded one after another. The Alakazam one was recorded in its own recording session, so I honestly don't remember the ordeal with that, but figuring out this board was much more of a pain than I like to admit. So we're definitely speeding things up for this one and post-commentating it. So some time has passed between recording the commentary for the past Battle Bingo and this one. So in between all that time, I finished Undertale Yellow. At least, I finished my playthrough of it. And also looked up YouTube videos on some of the things I missed along the way. I already spent so much time in the Butterfree Battle Bingo talking about it, but I do have a little bit to add now that I've actually finished the game. Most of what I said still holds up. It's obviously not perfect, but it is safe to say that it's one of the best games I've played in 2023. That can be taken with a grain of salt because I realized, trying to recollect on it all, that I've played very few new games in 2023. I think like majority of my time might have actually been spent playing mods and fan games. Well, mostly mods. Like, I can't really remember too much of what I played in the past year. Before I get too off topic, I still have a few things to add now that I finished the game. Pretty much everything I said still holds up. Like, I really enjoyed the characters, even more so now that I've seen the story full. Gameplay gimmicks are good. I don't know if it's getting too into spoiler territory, but I think there was room to be a little more creative. When it comes to sparing bosses, I did enjoy the fights overall, but it's hard to deny that they basically just came down to enduring the attacks until you reach the end. It's hard to describe without giving specific examples, but I just think the original Undertale kind of pushed that creativity just a bit further. That being said, the part of it enduring attacks was amazing. If you played the original Undertale, you know how like each boss battle you did had a unique way you moved the characters. This game does that a few times, and every time it does, it's real fun. I guess I just wish there was more puzzly elements to the boss fights, because the original Undertale really pushed your noggin on how to spare more major fights in the game. With normal enemies, you use the act option all the time in order to have enemies show you mercy. For some reason though, in more major fights, and again, it tends to come down to an endurance match more than figuring out how to get them to show you compassion. But I'm only spending so much time on this because that's my most major critique of the entire game. I'm sure there's more that would come to mind, but I think I'll save that for if I ever do a video specifically talking about it someday, because I'm adding it to the list of potential editorials. I'll be honest, it's not exactly high on the list, but it is on the list. Before I get off that topic completely though, one thing I also remembered not talking about, even though I really should have, the music is great in the game. Maybe someday I'll elaborate. But yeah, I think it's so good, it may actually be my game of 2023. I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not I should give it to Pikmin 4 or that. Main reason I'm hesitant to give it to Pikmin 4 is, as much as I enjoyed the game while playing it, I got real burnt out on Pikmin as a whole playing Pikmin 4. I guess it's just too much Pikmin? Who knows? But I'm kind of just trying to get a grasp of just what made last year so good for gaming. I was recently trying to recall every game I've played in 2023 for a survey in that, and I can only think of 5. One of them wasn't even from this year. Meanwhile, I've seen so many people hype up 2023 as one of the better years for video games, so I just don't get where I'm failing to follow in that. Not sure how much of it was just the types of games that came out last year appealed to different people than me, and how much of it was just my mindset wasn't on AAA games and being burnt out on the AAA games in general. So I had to take a little bit of a break to rest my voice anyways, and I took that time to think about things a bit more. I think a big reason why I don't feel on the same page as the general public with how gaming was this year was what I was suspecting earlier, and just the types of games that were really high quality that came out in 2023 tended to be games, let's say, in genres that I'm typically not interested in. The big one was Baldur's Gate. I'm sure Baldur's Gate 3 is an amazing, fantastic game. Everything I've seen and heard about it is good, but I know that's not my type of game. I've been struggling to try to figure out a way to explain why, besides the fact I just know myself well enough to know. The best I can come up with is just, it's a little too high fantasy for me. Doesn't help that I'm not really a D&D player, and that type of game really seems to be made for those people. I can respect it for everything that is done. The amount of customization, the paths. I've heard enough about the game to really understand why it's such a big deal, but it's not a type of game that I personally would play. And then there was like Mario Wonder, and like I know I was kind of hyping it up in earlier editorials, but that's just because I was looking for Mario to be different for Mario's sake, not necessarily for my own. And I have yet to touch the game, and I just don't have any intentions of coming back to Mario as a whole, at least 2D Mario. I just feel like that I've grown out of it. Maybe that's not the most accurate way to describe it, but that's the best way I can describe it. Just like, maybe instead of saying outgrown it, maybe just say I'm not interested in those types of games anymore. And then there was Super Mario RPG. I'm on the fence of even talking about it because it hurts to even think about the people that I'm gonna disappoint by saying it. It just didn't click well enough with me to stay with it. Everything I played of it was good, but it's kind of like in a similar sense of some other games I played where I haven't seen anything wrong with them, but there wasn't really a drive to finish it. On a lesser end of that scale is stuff like Origami King. On the more positive end of that scale is things like Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. The Super Mario RPG remake is kind of just like in the middle between those two ends of the spectrum of games I picked up, was fine with, but struggled to get back into, where Origami King I probably will never come back to. I played enough to really get a gist of it, especially because I've seen playthroughs of Origami King from beginning to end, where Sparks of Hope is a game that I do want to come back to, but I haven't really been able to get myself in the mindset to come back to it. The Super Mario RPG remake, it's kind of like in the middle of those two extremes, because it's like, I didn't love it, I didn't dislike it, I didn't find anything wrong with it. I guess I just haven't been too motivated to play it because I've seen so many YouTube playthroughs of the original Super Mario RPG that I know the general story and vibe, and because I didn't get into Mario RPGs until Paper Mario, it's inevitably going to feel a little more empty compared to those more advanced RPGs. Things like Paper Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, per se. So, maybe I'll come back to it someday, but right now, there's definitely other games that I want to play more. Even if it's just putting another dozen hours into Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's funny that games just vibe with me so much that even though I've beaten the story eons ago, gotten Arceus, done everything major that I could do with the game, I still enjoy going back into it, just roaming around the lands and slowly, very slowly, filling out the Pokedex and shiny hunting along the way. At this point, I think I'm gonna keep on playing Pokemon Legends until the next Legends Arceus game comes out. Even if I 100% it, I have yet to find a game that works as well for Game & Chill as Pokemon Legends Arceus. Longtime fans may recall that before Pokemon Legends came out, Animal Crossing New Horizons was kind of the fallback game for Game & Chill, where it had a pretty good solid ratio between engaging enough to make something visually interesting on screen and not so engaging that it's hard to focus on miscellaneous topics as I'm playing. Pokemon Legends Arceus just felt like a natural evolution of that, where not only is it a game that I enjoy so much more than New Horizons, but also it's even easier for me to just talk about whatever's on my mind while still keeping the general gameplay flow moving forward. It helps that I spent so much time in the game's world that I could pretty much play on autopilot, allowing me to focus on commentary even more than a typical playthrough. And yet there's just enough spice scattered throughout, both in the sense that there's always something for me to work towards, whether it's getting a Pokemon mastered in the Pokedex, or just enough random events scattered throughout to spice things up, whether it be one of the mass outbreaks, a space-time rift, even the bandits, and of course shiny Pokemon. It's always the highlight of a Game & Chill when I'm just roaming around, shooting the breeze, and I just stumble upon a shiny Pokemon in the process. I kind of miss that. It hasn't happened too often ever since I've really been focusing my streams on trying to complete the Lost Age randomizer. And it just sucks as I'm recording, like, I've had an extended weekend and wanted to do a stream all weekend, but every day just something came up. Like, Saturday had the power outage that just completely screwed the plans. Life was even cruel enough to give me a glimmer of hope, where the power came on pretty early on in the evening, only for it to go out again, like, less than an hour later. And by the time it came out at that point, it was way too late for me to stream. And then Sunday was just too exhausting because that was the day of the Typhlosion raid day, which I wasn't out for long, but it was still a discouraging day. I was already not in the greatest mood. Then I went out, tried to walk around, do the raids, but it was anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which for non-Americans is about between -11 to -1 degrees Celsius. So yeah, I tried to take off my gloves to interact with my phone to do a raid, and my hand's not having it. Like, it is like, screw the game, put the gloves on, or I'm gonna freeze right off. It was that cold. And since I had literally nothing that could actually touch my phone screen, even with quote-unquote touch-sensitive gloves, I essentially had to go in the car and drive between parking lots just to do any raids, which was good enough to get the shiny Typhlosion, but as soon as I got it, I had no motivation to keep playing because I wasn't walking, which for me, when I'm not walking, what's even the point of playing? So that whole mess kind of ruined my vibe for the entire day, and all I really felt up to doing was editing YouTube shorts, which I'll need a lot of if my voice and everything else doesn't recover in time. So I decided just to ride with whatever I was feeling able to do. Which takes us to today, where I could probably do a stream now, but I feel more comfortable streaming in the evening, so we'll see how I feel then. I guess the point of all this is that I would love to do more with Legends Arceus on stream, but it's even before the 6th thing came down, it's hard enough to get me to motivated to stream once a week. And that's so little time as is. Didn't want the Lost Stage Randomizer project to be going on forever, but if I'm still in this weird state of my body can't decide whether it's still sick or better, maybe something more casual like Legends Arceus would be good to do. I was thinking about jumping to it anyways before all this went down, because I got incredibly stumped in the Lost Age Randomizer to the point where the past couple streams of it really felt like they didn't really go anywhere. Of course, shortly after I said I was done streaming it, I figured out on my own time where I was getting stumped, so I could bring it back, but then all this went down, and I'm not even sure if I have the commentary to do video recordings properly, let alone resume that stream series. But at least maybe that'll open the door for some Legends Arceus stuff. I guess the point is I can't get better soon enough. So since I know we're in the final stretch of this bingo card, I guess to summarize, last year felt kinda meh in gaming for me, but at least there was a couple really solid games that I played, even if one of them was just more Legends Arceus. Oh boy, it is the moment of truth. The Pokemon that the Sableye that we started out with was made for. I don't think there's a single other Pokemon in this entire Battle Bingo board that the Sableye can take out, and yet, I don't see any other way you would deal with this Dusclops besides using the Sableye. I guess that's design. I wouldn't call it bad design. I definitely wouldn't call it bad design. I'm tempted to call it good design, but there's something that feels cheap about it, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Speaking of cheap though, I guess when you lose a board 2 to 3 times, eventually it sticks out how you're actually supposed to get through it in one piece. So maybe not the most optimal way. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about Ice Fang, yeah. I see why I went into this with Blaziken. All cleared. So let's see what we get out of this bingo card. Coupons and the grand prize of I'm gonna let you in on this thing. It's been 3 weeks and I still have zero idea what is. And something tells me I never will. Maybe I'll actually get the courage to go into the Discord and ask, and hopefully avoid any spoilers from asking. I don't know. I want to figure it out naturally. I got no idea how I will. It's like the Raikou thing. I'm still stumped on what the heck the Raikou thing is about. And since we're probably going to do at least one more area of Mount Battle before I progress the main plot. Probably some more Battle Bingo boards, if my voice continues to be the way it is. Who knows when we're going to get back to the main plot, if it's even tied to the main plot. Anyways, I rambled so long that I ran out of footage, so I'll see y'all for the next edition of Pokemon XG. Until then, take care.